All right, students, continuing with the second part of CSS. We have done a lot so far. It may not look like it to you on the right side, but look at that code. And wow, that's, hope you can kind of begin to make this out. But we've got the stylization up here in the head. The stylization, the CSS, is internal. It's inside the same code as the source code, all the other HTML. That's fine. We're going to leave it that way. If we had another episode of digital tools, we would take it further, like we would do in our web design classes. But anyway, we've got our wrapper. Remember, the wrapper does not have a close tag on it. It actually does, but it's wrapped around everything else. Then you got all of your content. Remember, I had you do like 400 words, 500 words, whatever of an article, and paste it in here. Hopefully, you're going step by step with this. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't make a lot of sense to you. So we're going to take it up where we're at, where we left off, and we basically have a web page that's looking something like this. By the way, I'm gonna preview it in live view. I'm gonna make it well, let me go design view and live view so I can just see this is what my website looks like. If I put it up on a server somewhere, kind of looks like Troy University, doesn't it? Okay, we've got a nav bar with no content, a header with no content except a background color, and then we've got our text. By the way, don't get sneaky and trying to make your text align center, because that's not really appropriate. We don't like align center text. Maybe headers and things is different, allowable. I'm going to turn the live view off. That's the live view button, upper left hand corner. If you get stuck and you can't get things to design for some reason, well, you may be stuck in live view. Turn that off, because you can only design in one of these three views. So here we are back to the CSS styling. Let's see if there's any other styling we want to do. I know that I'm going to start back at the top, and I'm going to go ahead and put content in here. And I know the header is red, and I want my type in the header to be white, which has been denoted here, FFF, that means white. Let me go down into my code, my HTML, and I'm looking for header right here. It says header, div ID equals header. So here's where the content exists. You know, I'm just putting in some gibberish right here, and I know if I click over here on the right hand side, that's where it appeared. Gibberish. Okay, there's no padding, it's not appropriately sized or anything. I'm going to go ahead and write in here. I'm highlighting in my code view, and I'm going to put a header title. Let me see. Ballooning is awesome. Okay, that's my title. You create a title. All right. Size-wise, nothing's happened yet because I haven't stylized the size. It's defaulting to the same size as the paragraph body copy. Okay, I'm going to have 3 links inside my nav bar. So let me go to my nav bar right over here, and I'm going to say in nav bar, look, I'm looking at this section over here on the left in the code view, the code side, and I want to have home and let's say I have another link. Let's say Troy University. I know this makes little to no sense, but I'm going to have 2 links. One's going to be home, one's going to be Troy University. These are just text links. We don't really have time to do rollovers and anything fanciful. Now, if you take it further and you provide that for me, that would be awesome. I'm clicking over here, and you can see that there's the words that I'm going to have. Oh, let's do this. Let's say contact me. I'll show you how to do an email link rather easily. Okay, so we're going to have 3 links in your nav bar: home, Troy University, and contact me. You know, I said this is going to be a 2-page website. I'll show you here what I mean by that, and you'll have to kind of pull this out. I think we can do this. Well, let's just do the second page. Troy University, contact me. So we're going to have 4 links. Awesome. Home, so which means this page we're building. You're going to have your second page. You can give it a name. You know, it could be more about ballooning. In fact, I'm going to change that now because that makes more sense. I'm going to say more about ballooning. Troy University, so that's an external link, and then contact me, which is an email link. Okay, and I'm going to click over here and should have all of this. Now, it's not spaced out. For the time being, let's do this. Then we could put some spacing in between here. Here's a good way to do it, because if I notice over here on the design view, you can't, I'm hitting my space bar over and over and over again. It doesn't make any difference. If I go to the code view and I put between home and more. I'm going space, 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 space. Well, when I go over here, it really doesn't affect it. Well, the space bar is not really something you want to do. I mean, you can force it, but let's just do the vertical slash. I don't know on a PC exactly if it's in the same place, but on my Mac keyboard, it's just under my delete button. There's a backslash and a vertical slash. And I'm just do that as a little separation between these items, okay? We're not going to get terribly fancy with the stylization of the links. More about that later. And then you can see I've got a little separation now, okay? That's not beautiful, but that's the start. Here again, we haven't stylized size or anything like that for that matter. All right, and let's go back and let's put content in the footer because that's the only container that we have so far that we haven't. Now it's down at the bottom of your code. See where it says div ID equals footer? It's almost really practically at the bottom. Down here before the wrapper closes and the footer closes, I'm going to insert some text. And basically I want to put those same links again. If I can remember what they are, home, vertical slash, more about ballooning, vertical slash, Troy University, vertical slash, and contact me. It's for search engine purposes that we repeat links on a page at the bottom and the footer, okay? There's other reasons, but that's helpful to know. That's why most pages have a footer with some repetitive links. And then one other thing, I'm going to put a hard return, which is going to make a paragraph break. Well, I'm just going to put the code in here. I'm going to put P, and paragraph break, and then I'm going to put website by Jerry Johnson, copyright 2014. Now I know that's somewhat of a joke because I copied all the text from the web, but just for you to get the familiarity, the idea that footers usually have copyright information. All right, and by the way, this text appears down here. It's not aligned right and it's big. All right, let me zoom back out. Let's kind of see what we've got on this side. We've got a footer, we've got a ballooning is awesome in the header, etc., etc. Let's go ahead and if we're going to change the size of things, whether you think we're going to have to do this, where do you think so? It's going to have to be up in the stylization. So back to the header. I want my type to be big, so I'm going to say, and another thing, see where it says ballooning is awesome, and notice the text on every one of these, the padding. There's no space between the edge. It's just flat slammed up against the wall. So we're going to add padding in each one of these. Not the body, but not the wrapper, but in the header, navbar, main column, all these places we have content. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put padding, colon, and by the way, you can do padding to the top, padding to the bottom, to the right, and to the left. Let's just do left and right. So I'm going to say padding left and then padding right. And I'm going to say 20 pixels. The thing about padding and margins, if I add padding, which is the space, the clearance between the edge of a container and the content, whether it's a picture or text, it gives it a little margin there, but it's on the inside of the container, inside of the div. So padding left 20, padding right 20. But since that's adding 40 pixels in width, think about it, to the overall width of that container, I've got to subtract 40 from my overall width. I know this is some high math for some of us, right? But I've got 20 pixels padding on the left, 20 on the right, that equals 40. So I'm going to subtract 40 from 700. I've got 660. Trust me, if you don't do that, then what's going to happen is over on the right hand side in the design view, you're going to see the header now is 40 pixels longer than the nav bar, 40 pixels longer than everything else. But let's do this with each one of these because that, by the way, when I do that padding, notice what happens. The ballooning is awesome, moved over 20 pixels to the right. I really need padding on the top too, don't I? We'll come back and adjust that later. Also, I want ballooning is awesome. By the way, I hope you're not using some fanciful font. Just use Times New Roman or a Swiss Helvetica Arial. Just use something like that, okay? Don't complicate things because not every computer has the same font. And you turn this into me and I don't have Gill Sans or Lucidograph or whatever font that you might be using, it's going to look bizarre to me and you won't even know it. You'll wonder why I'm critiquing your font selection or something. All right. Width has been adjusted because of my adding of padding. I also want padding on the top. Like I said, we'll come back later and do paddings on the top. The nav bar, I'm going to do basically the same thing. I want that width to be 660 because I'm going to put 20 padding. Well, I tell you what, let's do something different on the nav bar just to make it. No, I tell you what, let's do it the same. No reason to complicate. And I want that padding left and right on there as well. I'm going to put that on main content area as well, padding left and right, 660. Making this simple. And the footer, pretty much the same thing. All right, now that you've got that, let's take a sneak peek at the right-hand side and see what happens. We've got nice margins all the way around. That's much more readable, isn't it? Okay. Now let's deal with the padding on the top. I'm going to go ahead and change the size of the ballooning is awesome to really big. If I want to highlight it over here in design view, I'm highlighting it. I could come down to the property bar and I could go to the format that we talked about before and I could go H1, which is the biggest size. Select that. Let's go look. Alright, ballooning is awesome. That'll work. What if I want my links here to be a little bit bigger? I'm going to say let's go to heading something else, maybe heading 4. I don't know. Let's see what happened. Oop, I didn't highlight that, or did I? Highlight those, come down to property bar, and I'm going to say heading 4. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay. I think it's got some kind of organization to it. By the way, you can put background pictures instead of color as well, but as long as you've got those images in your boxes, in your image folder. That's looking pretty decent to me. I'm fine with that. I'm going to leave that alone.